For centuries, the greatest philosophers, mystics, and seekers have whispered of a force so subtle it cannot be measured by clocks, yet so powerful it can transform your destiny in ways most cannot imagine. It is a force that moves through the unseen layers of existence, waiting for those who are ready to claim it. You are about to step into a secret, a knowledge the world has long tried to keep hidden, a doorway to a reality where thought itself shapes the universe. And the question is simple, yet devastating. Will you recognize the power that has been quietly waiting for you all along, or will it slip past, unnoticed, like a shadow dissolving at dawn? Time, as most perceive it, is a fragile illusion. From the moment we are born, society conditions us to believe that life is a straight line. Yesterday is gone, today exists, and tomorrow is yet to come. Yet if we are willing to step beyond this conditioning, beyond the clock, the calendar, and the constant measurement of moments, a far deeper truth emerges. Time is not a river moving inexorably toward an end. It is a multidimensional web, a dynamic field of infinite possibilities where every choice, every subtle intention, every fleeting thought branches outward and folds back in upon itself. Moments do not simply pass. They resonate, echoing across layers of reality that remain hidden to the ordinary eye. Your consciousness is far more than a passive witness to events. It is the lens through which the universe both manifests and refracts itself. What you perceive as reality is in fact a complex interplay of probabilities, subtly influenced by the patterns of attention, belief, and awareness that you carry within. Imagine each thought as a pebble dropped into an infinite pond. The ripples are invisible yet profound, intersecting, merging, and amplifying in ways that can alter the trajectory of your life without you ever noticing at first. The mystics of every tradition have known this intuitively. The sages of India, the alchemists of Europe, the shamans of the Americas, they all understood that consciousness is not merely a passenger on the journey of life, but the co-creator of the very fabric of existence. Life, when observed from this higher vantage, reveals itself as a layered reality. On the surface are appearances, the world of cause and effect, of predictable sequences, the tangible and measurable. Beneath that lies the realm of intention, the subtle space where thoughts, feelings, and desires begin to exert influence, shaping outcomes before they take physical form. And below even that, if one is willing to descend further, is the quantum field itself, the hidden architecture where probabilities exist in infinite suspension, waiting to be collapsed into manifestation through the alignment of consciousness and awareness. The mystic does not merely live on the surface of life. They navigate its hidden currents, understanding that the world we see is but a reflection of the deeper movements of the soul. Every choice, no matter how small, sends threads weaving into this unseen tapestry. A glance, a word, an intention whispered silently within your mind, all carry weight. These threads, invisible yet persistent, intersect with threads from other minds, other moments, other possibilities. Life, in this sense, is not random. It is a living, breathing symphony, infinitely complex, infinitely subtle. And when you begin to perceive it, to feel the vibrations of its hidden order, the ordinary rules of limitation, time, chance, control begin to shift. You start noticing patterns, coincidences that defy explanation, synchronicities that seem orchestrated by a hand unseen. These are the quiet signals of alignment, nudges from the universe echoing through the quantum fabric, calling you toward deeper resonance. The human mind, however, is conditioned to ignore these signals. We are trained to chase what is immediate, tangible, and measurable, often missing the whisper of reality in the spaces between events. Yet the mystic learns to slow perception, to expand awareness, and to inhabit the liminal spaces where the unseen begins to make itself known. Here, the ordinary dissolves, and a subtle, extraordinary intelligence is revealed, a force that orchestrates not with force or coercion, but with perfect rhythm, responding to those who recognize it. When consciousness aligns with this hidden intelligence, the flow of life changes. Seemingly impossible events occur naturally. Opportunities that once seemed unlikely appear at just the right moment. Understanding deepens, intuition sharpens, and a quiet power arises, not in the domination of the external world, but in the mastery of inner resonance. To step into this perception is to recognize that your life is not merely a sequence of isolated events. It is a living, conscious dance with the universe itself, where the mind, the heart, and the soul are instruments in the symphony of creation. You are not a passive observer. You are both the weaver and the thread, the singer and the song. When you tune into this deeper frequency, you begin to navigate reality with a sense of purpose that is intuitive, fluid, and profoundly transformative. The surface may remain unchanged to others, but internally, everything shifts. The subtle perception of time, the recognition of unseen currents, the ability to anticipate, to respond, and to create with grace and precision. The path of the mystic is not mystical for the sake of mystery. It is a disciplined, conscious engagement with the hidden layers of reality. It is the cultivation of awareness, the refinement of attention, and the deliberate alignment of thought, emotion, and intention with the infinite possibilities that exist just beyond the veil of ordinary perception. Life ceases to be a random unfolding of events. It becomes a canvas upon which consciousness paints its choices, a field in which intention manifests as consequence, and a landscape in which the soul gradually awakens to its own boundless power. And in this awakening, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, the fleeting becomes eternal, and the simple act of perceiving transforms into an act of creation itself. The paradox of awakening is that the closer you try to grasp the hidden forces of reality, the more elusive they become. It is as if the universe has deliberately designed a threshold, a gate of perception, that cannot be stormed by intellect, effort, or desire alone. The more you chase control, the more it slips away. The more you attempt to force understanding, the deeper the mystery seems to grow. And yet this very resistance is the invitation. It is the challenge posed to those who would awaken, the subtle test of readiness that distinguishes those who are content to drift through life from those who are willing to see beyond the veil. Consider how often life presents contradictions that defy logic. The very act of seeking mastery over your circumstances can obscure the deeper mastery that lies within the alignment of consciousness itself. You may work tirelessly to impose order, to strategize, to manipulate outcomes, only to find that the outcomes you most desire remain stubbornly out of reach. And simultaneously, in moments of surrender, when you let go of expectation and allow awareness to settle into the quiet spaces of perception, synchrony emerges, opportunity flows, and what once seemed impossible manifests effortlessly. This tension, this friction between effort and surrender, is not a flaw in reality. It is the gateway to understanding. It is here, in the paradox, that the mind begins to bend, that perception stretches, and the hidden currents of life reveal themselves in ways that logic cannot anticipate. Every thought, every impulse, every subtle shift of attention is a vector in the quantum field, moving probabilities even when the conscious mind cannot measure or see them. And yet, most people move through life blind to these subtleties, believing that only external action shapes reality. But the mystic knows the truth. The field of potential responds first to awareness, then to intention, and only then to the visible act. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The waves crash unpredictably on the shore, yet beneath deep currents flow in precise, deliberate patterns, unseen and often unrecognized. Those who can feel these currents, even faintly, navigate with intuition that surpasses calculation. Those who cannot, no matter how diligent their efforts, remain at the mercy of chance. There is also a tension within the self itself, a paradox that often goes unnoticed. The mind is both the instrument of awakening and the obstacle to it. It seeks clarity and comprehension, yet the very act of seeking clarity can tighten the grip of illusion. The ego demands evidence, narrative, and control, while the deeper self whispers through intuition, subtle insight, and unspoken knowing. The path forward requires a delicate balance. To cultivate awareness without clinging, to observe without needing immediate explanation, to act with intention without attempting to dominate outcomes. This is the dance of the quantum shift, and it is inherently counterintuitive, designed to bend perception, expand consciousness, and awaken faculties that lie dormant in most. And here is the twist that challenges most seekers. The universe does not operate according to the linear cause and effect they have been taught. Sometimes, events converge in ways that seem illogical, impossible, or even contradictory. A decision made in uncertainty can yield profound outcomes. A choice left unmade can redirect the flow of destiny. An intention unspoken can shape probabilities more powerfully than the loudest declarations. The mystic learns to recognize these hidden laws, to attune to subtle signs, and to perceive the invisible architecture through which reality unfolds. The friction, the confusion, the tension, all of it becomes a mirror, reflecting the deeper patterns and inviting the observer to move beyond habitual thinking. The beauty of this paradox is that it awakens curiosity in its purest form. Once the mind glimpses the edges of this hidden order, it begins to perceive layers of reality that were previously invisible. Coincidences cease to feel random. Obstacles begin to reveal lessons. Uncertainty transforms into a field of infinite possibility. And yet, this awakening is subtle. It requires patience, presence, and a willingness to dwell in the unknown without fear. The universe responds to the quality of awareness, not to the force of will. And in this delicate interplay, the observer begins to co-create, not through domination, but through resonance, alignment, and the exquisite understanding that reality itself is a living, conscious participant in the unfolding of existence. In this way, the curiosity loop is not a trap, it is an invitation. It is the friction of perception, the paradox of control versus surrender, the tension between what is seen and what is hidden. It draws the seeker forward, bending their mind, expanding their intuition, and preparing the consciousness for the profound realization that will follow in the core insight, that the quantum field itself is not outside of you, but intimately, inseparably intertwined with the subtle currents of your own inner awareness. Here, at the edge of understanding, the impossible begins to feel inevitable, and the mystic awakens to the hidden architecture of the universe. The truth that underlies all mystical traditions, all philosophies of consciousness, and all teachings on awakening is both startling in its simplicity and breathtaking in its depth. Your inner state is the hidden cause of outer reality. What this means is not merely metaphorical, it is literal. The universe does not respond solely to external conditions. It responds to the subtle, almost imperceptible vibrations of your attention, your awareness, and your intention. Every thought you hold, every belief you nurture, every subtle movement of consciousness sends ripples into the quantum field, creating the conditions for experiences yet to manifest. In essence, the outer world is not primary, it is a reflection, a mirror of the inner architecture of your being. This realization changes everything. For most, life feels like a series of random events, coincidences, luck, chance, or the whims of circumstance. But when you grasp the core insight of the quantum shift, you begin to see that nothing is truly random. Even the events that seem chaotic, unfair, or uncontrollable carry information. They are not punishments, accidents, or mistakes. They are responses from a universe that is alive, intelligent, and exquisitely sensitive to the resonance you project. The patterns of your thoughts, the quality of your attention, the depth of your presence, all of it is felt, registered, and mirrored back to you in forms that the ordinary mind often misinterprets as coincidence. The mystics have always emphasized this, but few grasp the mechanism. Consider the principle often called as above, so below. It is not merely symbolic, it is a precise description of how consciousness interacts with reality. Your inner world, your beliefs, fears, intentions, and awareness does not exist in isolation. It is the engine, the blueprint, the invisible hand shaping what manifests externally. When the mind is fragmented, reactive, or bound by fear, the external world appears chaotic, hostile, and unpredictable. When the mind is aligned, present, and consciously tuned to deeper frequencies of resonance, the outer world begins to conform, to unfold in ways that feel almost miraculous. The invisible is always shaping the visible. The hidden is always informing the manifest. Now consider this further. The quantum field itself, the realm where probabilities exist in infinite suspension, is not separate from you. You are not an observer outside of it, and it is not a stage upon which you passively act. You are both the field and the observer. You are both the wave and the particle, the energy and the awareness. When consciousness aligns with this field, subtle shifts in intention can ripple outward, producing consequences that may appear monumental in the physical world. A single, coherent, deeply felt thought can begin a chain of events that alters outcomes in ways that seem impossible. It is here that the concept of miracle begins to make sense, not as magic imposed externally, but as a natural effect of mastery over one's own inner state. Mastery, however, is not achieved through force, willpower, or mere knowledge. Knowledge alone is inert. Effort alone is often counterproductive. Mastery arises from integration, the fusion of thought, awareness, and presence into a singular resonance that the universe can respond to. When the inner state vibrates with clarity, alignment, and deep intention, reality bends, not through coercion, but through resonance. This is why mystics emphasize practices of mindfulness, meditation, and presence, not as rituals, but as tools to attune the consciousness to its own latent power, to quiet the noise of the ego, and to allow the hidden architecture of existence to operate unhindered. This insight transforms the relationship with fear, limitation, and uncertainty. When the outer world seems uncontrollable, the mystic does not despair. They turn inward, recognizing that the pivot point of all change resides within. The mind, once understood as a tool for reaction, becomes a conductor of creation. The body, once experienced as a vessel constrained by time and space, becomes a sensor, perceiving subtle currents and responding to them with intuitive precision. Even the seemingly external universe becomes an extension of the inner awareness, revealing patterns, synchronicities, and opportunities that are direct responses to the alignment of consciousness. Perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of this insight is its accessibility. This is not some rare power reserved for sages or mystical elites. Every individual carries within them the capacity to ignite this quantum shift. The only requirement is the willingness to observe without judgment, to align attention with intention, and to cultivate presence so profound that the subtle movements of reality can be perceived and engaged with consciously. It is a practice of becoming aware that the universe is not external. It is an active dialogue in which consciousness is both participant and creator, observer and originator. When this understanding is fully realized, a profound transformation occurs. Life ceases to be a series of disconnected events and becomes a coherent, responsive, and living system. The mystic awakens not to a distant truth, but to the immediate recognition that everything begins within. Your thoughts sculpt probability. Your attention organizes chaos. Your presence harmonizes the currents of existence. And in this alignment, the impossible becomes natural, the hidden becomes visible, and the quantum shift ignites the inner mystic that has always been waiting, quietly, patiently, beneath the surface of ordinary perception. Think for a moment about your own life, the moments when something shifted, almost imperceptibly, and yet everything seemed different afterward. Perhaps it was a sudden clarity in the middle of confusion, a fleeting sense that the world was conspiring in your favor, or a quiet synchronicity that seemed too precise to be mere chance. Most of the time, these moments pass unnoticed, dismissed as coincidence or luck. But in truth, they are subtle confirmations, whispers from the hidden architecture of reality, signaling that you are already in dialogue with the quantum field, that the inner currents of your consciousness are already shaping the outer world. Consider the times when you have felt lost, overwhelmed, or uncertain. Perhaps you have stood at the crossroads of life, staring at the path ahead with fear or doubt, wondering if you could ever align your intentions with your deepest desires. It is in these moments, when the mind is unsettled and the heart feels fragile, that the inner mystic waits quietly. The universe does not abandon you in uncertainty. It is often in the very space of disorientation that alignment begins. Your own attention, your own presence, even the silent recognition of your longing, carries immense power. These are not random struggles. They are invitations to awaken, to notice, and to participate consciously in the orchestration of your own life. Perhaps you have experienced moments where insight arrived unexpectedly. A conversation, a book, a single thought in the middle of the night, revealing clarity where there was confusion. These are not accidents. They are reflections of your own consciousness responding to the subtle cues of the quantum field, aligning probabilities so that your path forward becomes visible, even if only partially. You may have brushed past these experiences, unaware of their significance, but they are proof that the inner mystic is already at work, nudging you toward resonance, guiding you toward the alignment that is your birthright. And think of the emotions that often accompany such moments: wonder, awe, perhaps a hint of fear. These are not merely feelings, they are signals, indicators that the mind and heart are stretching beyond the familiar, beyond the predictable. The mystic recognizes these emotions as the language of the invisible world, an intimate code that communicates, you are ready, you are awakening, you are being called to participate in the deeper currents of reality. To ignore them is to remain trapped in ordinary perception. To notice them, to honor them, is to step consciously into the dialogue with the universe itself. You may also reflect on your own limitations, the patterns that repeat, the doubts that persist. These are not failures, they are mirrors, reflecting areas where awareness has yet to fully awaken. Every challenge, every moment of hesitation, every encounter with uncertainty is an opportunity to cultivate the inner presence that bridges the gap between thought and manifestation, between the seen and the unseen. When you begin to see life through this lens, the mundane is transformed into the extraordinary. Every encounter, every choice, every fleeting thought becomes part of a living conversation between you and the quantum currents that flow through all existence. The inner mystic is not distant. It is not a figure you must aspire to or chase. It is the quiet voice that has always been within you, the subtle intelligence that observes, guides, and co-creates. It is the part of you that notices synchronicity, feels resonance, and responds intuitively to the currents of reality. By recognizing it, honoring it, and aligning with it, you begin to feel seen, not by the world outside, but by the living, conscious intelligence that has been working through your own awareness all along. You are not alone. You are already participating in the sacred dance of creation, whether you realize it or not. This recognition transforms not only how you perceive life, but how you experience yourself. You begin to feel empowered, not in the sense of controlling outcomes, but in the deeper sense of alignment. The profound knowing that your inner state shapes your outer reality, that your attention resonates through the hidden currents of existence, and that you are not passive but active, not observer but co-creator. It is a gentle, quiet power, subtle yet immense, that allows the ordinary to unfold in extraordinary ways, and the unseen to become visible through the clarity of your awareness. And perhaps most importantly, it allows you to forgive yourself for past mistakes, missteps, or periods of unconsciousness. The inner mystic understands that nothing is wasted, that all experience carries information, and that even struggle, pain, and doubt are part of the unfolding process. The universe is not punishing, it is teaching, aligning, and inviting you to awaken. The shift you seek is not outside, it has been waiting in your awareness all along. It is yours to recognize, nurture, and act upon. To awaken your inner mystic is not an act of force. It is not a matter of mastering rituals, reciting words, or performing dramatic gestures that demand attention from the outside world. True awakening begins quietly, invisibly, within the depths of your own awareness. It begins with the recognition that the power you seek has never been external. It has been inside you all along, lying dormant, waiting for your conscious recognition. The universe does not ask you to do something extraordinary. It asks only that you notice the invisible, attune yourself to it, and allow it to flow through you. The call is subtle, persistent, and unmistakable for those willing to perceive it. Begin by observing the currents of your own mind. Notice the patterns of thought that arise spontaneously, the habitual narratives that shape perception, and the fleeting impulses that often go unnoticed. These are the signals of the hidden field, the whispers of reality responding to your consciousness. Become aware of the subtle energies that stir in your body, the tension, the lightness, the tingling sense of potential that often accompanies presence. This is not fantasy, it is the most tangible evidence of your connection to the quantum fabric of existence, the living architecture that responds to awareness, intention, and alignment. The practice of awakening is deceptively simple, but infinitely profound. Align your attention with the inner field of your being. Let intention arise naturally from presence rather than forcing it. Observe, without judgment, the subtle responses that emerge from the world around you, those fleeting moments of synchronicity, the coincidences that feel orchestrated, the unexpected clarity that arrives when it is needed most. These are the markers of alignment, the signals that your consciousness is in resonance with the deeper currents of life. It is also an act of surrender, but not in the sense of giving up. It is surrender to the intelligence of the unseen, to the rhythms of reality that move beyond the limited perception of the ego. It is the realization that you do not have to push, force, or manipulate life in order for it to unfold according to its highest potential. Your responsibility is not to control the external. Your responsibility is to refine the inner, to cultivate awareness, and to allow your consciousness to resonate with the frequencies that the universe responds to most naturally. In practical terms, this can manifest as simple, deliberate attention to the present. Notice the sensations, thoughts, and emotions that arise without suppressing or amplifying them. Recognize the hidden signals in your interactions, your environment, and your internal responses. Allow your decisions to emerge not from fear, habit, or compulsion, but from the quiet resonance of awareness meeting intention. This is how the inner mystic operates, not by acting aggressively, but by allowing alignment to guide action, letting reality respond to presence rather than imposing upon it. The awakening also involves cultivating trust in the unseen. The universe, though invisible, operates with perfect intelligence and timing. Patterns that appear random are often precise, orchestrated with subtlety and intelligence beyond the capacity of the ordinary mind to predict. By aligning attention with these currents, you enter into a sacred dialogue with reality itself, in which the inner and outer are not separate but intertwined, responsive, and mutually co-creative. This is the practice of the quantum shift, the conscious engagement with the hidden architecture that underlies all manifestation. And so the call is simple: observe more deeply, resonate more fully, and allow your awareness to become the instrument through which the unseen moves. The mystic within you does not demand extraordinary effort. It demands presence, patience, and the courage to notice what most overlook. It is a quiet discipline, a deliberate attunement, and an embrace of the invisible currents that are already shaping your life. The moment you recognize this, subtle shifts begin to appear. Decisions that once seemed difficult feel guided. Opportunities that were hidden emerge with clarity. Obstacles that once appeared insurmountable begin to dissolve, not by force, but through alignment. And in that space you realize that awakening is not a distant destination. It is the natural unfolding of consciousness responding to itself, the moment when the inner mystic steps fully into awareness, and life begins to flow not as a series of random events, but as a living, conscious, responsive system. This is the path of subtle power, of quiet mastery, of mystical alignment. It does not demand spectacle or proof. It demands only that you choose to notice, to align, and to participate in the living dialogue between consciousness and the universe. And when you do, the inner currents awaken, the hidden probabilities collapse into resonance, and the quantum shift becomes not an abstract concept but a living reality that flows through your life with effortless intelligence. And now, as we reach the edge of understanding, the final truth reveals itself not in words, but in the quiet recognition of presence. The quantum shift you have glimpsed is not a distant phenomenon, nor a hidden secret reserved for the enlightened few. It is here now, flowing through the very moments you inhabit, resonating in the subtle movements of your mind, the quiet stirrings of your heart, and the unspoken intuitions of your soul. The universe is not separate from you. It is a reflection of your consciousness, a mirror of your awareness, a living dialogue that has always been waiting for your recognition. Imagine the patterns of your life, the choices you have made, the intentions you have held, converging in a single moment of clarity. The invisible threads, once scattered and unseen, now vibrate in harmony with your inner resonance. You begin to perceive life not as a series of disconnected events, but as a coherent, living system, a tapestry woven from your attention, your awareness, and the subtle currents of the quantum field. What once seemed uncertain now reveals its logic, not through explanation but through the clarity of alignment. You begin to see that reality responds to presence, that synchronicity is not chance, and that the mystic within you has been active, awake, and patient, waiting for this recognition. There is a quiet majesty in this awakening, a subtle, almost imperceptible power that does not shout but guides. It whispers in the spaces between thought and feeling, in the silent echoes of decision, in the fleeting moments when intuition meets awareness. Life itself becomes a co-creation, a dance in which your consciousness is both partner and conductor. The hidden architecture of reality, once invisible and unknowable, now hums with clarity, reflecting the subtle mastery that emerges from alignment with these unseen currents. And yet, even as the patterns unfold, the mystery remains. The mystic knows that understanding is not possession, and knowledge is not control. The universe is infinite, layered, and perpetually unfolding. Every insight opens the door to deeper understanding, every alignment reveals further subtle currents, and every recognition of the hidden forces invites the observer to a higher resonance. This is the sacred rhythm of existence, clarity intertwined with mystery, knowledge entwined with awe, and awakening interwoven with the eternal unknown. As you stand in this awareness, you realize that the journey does not end here. The quantum shift is not a destination but a living, breathing process. It moves with you, through you, and around you, guiding not by force but by resonance, shaping life in ways that are simultaneously subtle and profound. Your inner mystic, once dormant, now awakens as a presence that is both intimate and infinite, offering guidance, insight, and alignment to the currents that have always been at play. And so the cycle completes, yet it is also eternal. You are both the observer and the observed, the participant and the orchestrator, the question and the answer. The universe does not stop, and neither does the dialogue that flows between your consciousness and reality itself. Life is no longer a series of separate moments, but a living conscious symphony, a resonance of infinite possibilities reflecting back the depth, clarity, and power you carry within. In this realization, a final understanding emerges. The unseen is not hidden from you. It has been present all along, shaping, guiding, and responding to your awareness. To awaken the inner mystic is not to conquer but to recognize, to align, and to participate consciously in the living field of existence. The universe waits not for mastery but for recognition. It responds not to force but to resonance. And as you breathe, move, and observe, the infinite quietly unfolds around you, revealing the subtle, profound truth that you are, and always have been, an active co-creator in the living, conscious, magnificent unfolding of reality.